What's going on, guys? I'm Alejandro Mendoza, and in today's video, as you can tell from the title, I'm going to be talking about why Davis or Daisuke Motomiya is my favorite character. Although, do keep in mind that this is obviously my opinion, and if there is anything in this video that you agree or disagree with me on, feel free to post it down in the comments. I would love to have a discussion with you guys. Also, this is obviously the way that I have come to interpret and see Davis's character after watching Zero Two and after hearing and seeing others' opinions on him. So, once again, if you think that I interpreted something wrong about Davis or you think I am wrong about a certain part of his character, that's obviously completely fine because we all have our own opinions and you can just post what you think in the comments down below. But Alejandro, why are you making this video? Davis and the other Zero Two cast are dead. We see them die in the first Try movie, so why talk about them? Well, first off, even if Davis and the others really were dead, that wouldn't keep me from talking about them. They are all characters who, despite their flaws, I enjoy watching and talking about. Besides, if Tai or any of the other 8 original Digits died, people would be talking the crap out of it. Second, we don't know if Davis and the others truly died. In the first Try movie, all we see of Davis and the others is them being defeated by Alphamon. That doesn't mean they died, and if they really did die, then and there, wouldn't the writers have said something since we are 5 movies into Try, and the final movie is about to come out very soon? Or wouldn't they have had Tai or one of the others talk about 4 of their best friends dying? Third, well, today's actually my birthday, so I figured since Davis is my favorite character, it would be only fitting to talk about him. And by the way, just in case you guys are wondering, I turned 18 today. And lastly, I know that a lot of fans question why people like Davis, so I just kind of wanted to answer that question. Of course, I don't speak for all Davis fans, and there are going to be different reasons as to why someone likes a character, but people do typically have similar reasons for why they like a character, so I hope that I can provide a decent explanation as to why I and other people like Davis. Also, on a side note, if you guys want to watch another video that provides a look into Davis's character, then I would suggest watching Angel Rin 89's Topic of the Week video about Davis. And I feel that her explanation of why she likes Davis, as well as why people dislike him, is very insightful and provides a nice perspective into Davis's character. So I will leave a link to her video in the description down below for any of you who want to check it out. And one final thing before we get into the discussion, I just want to ask all of you watching something, and this is whether you're a fan of my channel or not, or if you're just neutral about me. I just want to ask all of you to watch to the end. And I mean, of course, on all my videos, I want you guys to watch to the end and see what I have to say on it. Like, that just goes without saying. But with this video in particular, I'd really appreciate it if you heard me out on this, because this video is obviously on a character that I enjoy very much because he's my favorite, and this video I feel is very important to me. So, and also, maybe as you're watching the video, you'll be inclined to, after I state a reason for liking Davis, to go down in the comments, post something, which, you obviously still can do. I'm not saying you can't do that. You can do whatever you want, but, whatever your question is, or questions are, they'll likely be answered in the video, and if they aren't, then you can still just feel free to post them in the comments, and I'll try to reply to them as soon as possible. But, this video, like I said, while it is meant to, like I said, describe why I and other people like Davis, it's also meant to, maybe get people to see Davis in a new light, and that's why I'm asking all of you to watch to the end, because let's say, maybe you've never been a big fan of Davis. I want to see, if maybe I can get you to see him in a different way. And if you do like Davis, then, maybe I can get you to see him in a way that other fans have never seen before. So, and that's really the point, along with, stating why I like Davis. And, if by the end of the video you're either, disappointed or you didn't like the video, that's obviously absolutely fine. But all I ask is that you watch to the end and tell me your honest thoughts about what I said during this video, whether those thoughts be positive or negative. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into discussing why Davis is my favorite character. So, going back to when I really got into Digimon, which was around the 6th grade, the first thing that made me start to like Davis's character, or at the very least got me interested in him, was his crush on Kari. And I know that Davis having a crush on Kari isn't really the most original reason to like a character, since in a lot of anime they have the trope where one of the characters will have a crush on one of the other characters who doesn't feel the same way towards them. For instance, JP's crush on Zoe from Digimon Frontier, or Naruto's crush on Sakura. But with Davis's one-sided crush on Kari, I actually find that it obviously makes him a much more relatable character, and it makes me sympathize with him more than other characters. But the thing is that even when I compare Davis to other characters who also have one-sided crushes, I still sympathize more with Davis because, well, in the 6th grade, I had a crush on one of the girls in my class. We met on the first day of school and we got along really well, so I eventually decided to tell her that I liked her, and needless to say, it didn't end well. And, like I said before, it was around that time that I had really gotten into Digimon, and it was also around that time that I had just finished Digimon Adventure and went on to Digimon Adventure 02. And, so entering 02, I just had my heart broken by my crush, and to see a character like Davis who also had a crush on a girl who didn't like him back, it just made me feel good knowing that there was a character that I could relate to in some regard. And not to mention that the reason why the girl I had a crush on said no to me was because she was already dating someone else. So that just meant I could relate to Davis even more, since, he obviously views TK as a rival for Kari's affection, and the girl I liked was already taken by somebody else, so it just really made me even more invested into Davis's character. Also, like I said before, even though it isn't the most original reason to like a character, it certainly is something that most, if not all people, can relate to, because I think that all of us, likely at some point in our lives, have had that crush on someone who just didn't like us back. And not only that, but what happened with Davis and his crush on Kari just made me like his character even more, because, at the start of 02, Davis obviously has this major crush on Kari and is infatuated with her. But then as the season progresses, Davis stops being so Kari focused, and later in the season, we don't really see him trying to catch Kari's attention anymore. And even though we do see that later in the series, Davis still does have a crush on Kari, and that's evident because during the Diaboromon Strikes Back movie, he immediately wants to go and help Kari after finding out she went with TK to help in the fight against Diaboromon. But instead of still trying to needlessly compete for, her affection, he instead typically chooses to, focus on saving the digital world, helping Ken overcome his demons, and just being better friends with everybody. And, I may be exaggerating Davis' character development when it comes to his crush on Kari, just because it happened during a point in my life where I could relate to Davis' situation the most. But I think that at the very least, we can agree that by the end of 02, Davis became more mature with his crush on Kari. Now, another reason why Davis is my favorite character is because, well, Davis is always true to himself. And what I mean by that is, Davis doesn't change who he is just because someone thinks he's dumb or because someone doesn't like him. He's always himself. He's always that goofy, loud, dumb, courageous, friendly, understanding person. And I really admire that because in real life, we'll change our personalities, or we'll just change who we are because we want to fit in with a group. And Davis, he could have done that, and he sort of had a reason to, because, at the beginning, the others would laugh at him a lot, obviously, and he could have, easily just acted like a different person so that the others wouldn't mock him. But, Davis didn't do that. Davis, he chose to be himself regardless of if the others laughed at him or not. And that is a quality of Davis that I really admire, and I'm pretty sure it's a quality that a lot of people could admire, because at multiple points in all our lives, we'll obviously want to make friends with new people, but the people we want to make friends with could want us to just have complete changes in who we are just to be a part of the group, or that they will like it, or so that they will like us better. And like I said before, a lot of the time in real life, we will just change our personalities and who we are, even if we don't want to, just so that someone or a group of people will be more willing to accept us or like us more. But Davis in 02 is just he's look, this is who I am, and I'm not going to change it just because you don't like it. And I know that in 02, this whole idea of Davis basically being this is who I am, either take it or leave it, it's never really expressed by him, so I will admit it is a bit of headcanon on my part, but it is apparent in 02 that Davis acts the way he does just because it's a part of who he is. And you can also tell that Davis isn't the kind of person who will just let other people dictate who he should be and how he should act. Now, since I did just get through stating how Davis remains true to who he is and he remains the same personality-wise, I feel it's only fitting to talk about his character development throughout Zero Two. But Alejandro, you just said that Davis remains the same personality-wise. How could he have any character development if he stays the same in his personality? And to that I say, well, a character doesn't have to have a drastic change in personality in order to develop. Their characters can still develop and learn things while they retain the same personality that they had before. And this is exactly the case with Davis's character, because even though he remains the same personality-wise, he still learns and grows throughout Zero Two. Take, for instance, the episode where Davis gets the Diego friendship. Throughout the episode, and this is more so in the Japanese version, but throughout the episode, Davis is questioning what friendship really is, and he expresses that he doesn't know what friendship truly means. And as the episode progresses, Davis questions himself, and he questions the others and, what they're saying about friendship as well, and the bond with the Digimon. But eventually, though, with everybody's support, Davis realizes that the only way to save Agumon is to fight him and set him free, even if it means hurting him. And not only that, but by the end of the episode, Davis realizes that he has to believe and trust in his friends. And we know this because throughout the episode, he doesn't understand what Tai and Matt are saying about friendship, and he's doubting what they're saying. But as the fight with Metal Greymon progresses, both Matt and Tai tell him that he has to believe in Agumon, the others, and himself. And the others also chime in some things as well. And because of all this, Davis eventually realized that what they were saying about fighting Agumon was right all along, and his doubt in them and himself vanishes, and he learns to, believe and trust in them, in everybody else. And although I will say that this whole episode did feel kind of like a forced development for Davis, because before it, Davis, he didn't have any hesitation when it came to fighting Digimon. And, granted, this isn't just some random Digimon, it's Tai's Digimon, and Davis looks up to him like an idol, but that doesn't change that Davis was somewhat out of character during the Metal Greymon episode where he's controlled. But regardless, whether it was forced or not, Davis did develop from, the battle with Metal Greymon. And another place where Davis develops his character is, of course, like I said before, his crush on Kari, because obviously at the beginning of Zero Two, Davis is just incredibly Kari-focused and very immature. But as the season progresses, Davis stops putting Kari as a priority, and really after the episode where he gets Veemon to digivolve into X-Veemon, we don't really see him try to grab Kari's attention anymore. And he instead focuses on his responsibilities as both a Digidestined and a leader. Not to mention that at the beginning, Davis was very immature, and even though he can still be a goofball at times, by the end of Zero Two, we see that he has become much more mature as he now understands his friends better and makes more rational decisions that aren't just based on getting Kari's attention. Now, don't get me wrong, there are still many areas in Davis's character that the writer should have developed, and I really wish that they had done so. I really wish they developed him more, but it is what it is. You can't go back and change the past. And another reason why Davis is my favorite character is because he's a very understanding and forgiving character. And we really see the side of Davis through, of course, Ken. And, because after Davis and the others defeat Chimeramon, and Ken gives up being the Digimon Emperor, Ken eventually comes back after having found Wormon, and he wants to correct the wrongs he has committed. And, of course, among the group, this sparks sort of a debate among them. You have, Cody, who thinks they shouldn't let Ken into the group because he thinks that once someone is evil, they're always evil. Then you have Kari and TK, they're more in the middle, they kind of think that Ken has changed, but they're very cautious about it. And then of course you have Davis, who he immediately forgives Ken and wants to welcome into the group, and he believes he's changed. And Davis didn't have to forgive Ken at all. In fact, probably out of all the Zero Two gang, he had every right not to forgive him, since Ken tormented Davis more than he did the others. And an example of that is when Ken deceived Davis into thinking that he had captured TK, Kari, and the others, and he was going to feed them to Deltamon, and he tried to make Davis choose one of them to survive, only for Davis to opt to sacrifice himself instead. So for Davis to forgive Ken in spite of everything that happened, that just amazes me. And Davis didn't hesitate at all when he forgave Ken. Not to mention Davis forgave Ken very quickly. It was right after Magnamon defeated Chimeramon using Wormon's energy. We obviously see Ken getting rid of his Digimon Emperor clothing, and he just breaks down crying like at Wormon's death, and everybody else just they are watching on ahead. And as Ken begins to wander off, Davis immediately calls out to him and asks him to join them. And granted, Wormon did just die, so it's like, Davis, should you really be asking him to join the group right now? I mean, he's in an emotional crisis right now. But it goes to show that Davis is a very forgiving person, and that in that moment when Ken was grieving over Wormon, Davis no longer saw the Digimon Emperor, but a scared boy who just lost his best friend. And after that point where Ken returns, Davis just advocates for him to everybody, and he forgives and believes in Ken even when no one else, not even Ken, could. And not only that, but Davis, like I said before, is very understanding of his friends. And we really see this right before the final battle with Malamai Otismon, where, after Malamai Otismon has just killed Arukenimon and Momomon, none of the Digidestined except Davis want to fight. And, Davis and all the partner Digimon try to encourage Kari and the others, but in the end, they're still afraid to fight because they don't want their Digimon to die, because they'll believe that they're going to die against Malamai Otismon. And this leaves Davis and XVmon to fight against Malamai Otismon alone. But Davis, he doesn't taunt Kari and the others for not wanting to fight or for being scared to fight. He actually does quite the opposite, because before XVmon goes in to fight Malamai Otismon, Ken grabs Davis and tells him that they should DNA Digivolve. But Davis can see that Ken is still scared, and he knows that DNA Digivolution won't work if Ken is like that. So he lets him know that, it's fine like that. Ken and the other Digidestined are scared, and that he and Vmon will manage somehow. And it's really awesome to see Davis be so understanding like that, because it shows he's grown from that, immature, Kari-focused, bullheaded leader who didn't know what friendship was, into a leader who understands his friend's emotions, who knows what it means to be a leader and a friend, while still being as tenacious and bullheaded as ever. And not to mention that the scene that ensues after this is just awesome, where Davis helps to break everyone out of their illusions, and the O2 Digidestined just begin to absolutely pummel Malamai Otismon. And, some of you might be thinking, well, the others realized they were in illusions, and Davis came after they realized it, so he didn't really help in bringing them out. And that is somewhat true, since the others did realize they were in illusions before Davis and Vmon went to get them. But that doesn't change the fact that, had it not been for Davis, TK and the others would have been defeated, because, remember, Davis was the only one of the O2 cast who was willing to fight Malamai Otismon at the beginning, because the others, they were too afraid to fight. And not only that, but if it hadn't been for Davis, then the thing that happened with everyone's Digimon Digivolving into all of their Digivolve states, that wouldn't have occurred, since as Kari and Yulie's state, without Davis's will not to give up and his faith in their victory, then the power that allowed their Digimon to Digivolve into all of their Digivolutions wouldn't have been born. And that's another one of the reasons why I like Davis. It's his will to never give up, and his faith in not just his friends and himself, but really in people in general. Like, with Ken and the Dark Spore Children, even though they had fallen into darkness and didn't believe in themselves, Davis had faith in them. And he had faith that they're good, that they had good inside all of them, and that even if they made mistakes or had their own personal demons, that didn't mean they had to remain that way or wallow in their misery. They could instead just, overcome their demons and make their dreams come true. And, Davis, he didn't give up on Ken, he didn't give up on the Dark Spore Children, and when it came to all of their previous battles, he didn't give up either, because he believed in his friends and in their strength as well as his own. And really seeing Davis have such a belief in his friends and people in general, when we live in a world where it's typically very hard to believe in others, it's just a really refreshing and inspirational thing to see, at least to me. And furthermore, I also like Davis because he is someone who doesn't see the point in holding grudges or wallowing in your own misery. The only way I could ever see Davis truly hating someone or having a grudge against them is if they killed one of his friends or family. But but barring that, Davis doesn't hold grudges and he doesn't wallow in his own misery. And you really said with say for instance with Ken, because Davis doesn't hold any ill will towards him, and when Davis sees Ken wallowing wallowing in his own misery, like saying things like, "It doesn't matter if I die so long as I fix it, so long as I have done." Davis gets mad at Ken for saying that because he knows that Ken doesn't have to be wallowing in his own misery, nor does he have to die to fix his wrongs, but rather he can instead choose to live with what he has done, move forward, and become a better person by learning from what he's done. And Davis is someone who knows that better than most people and Davis is someone who knows better than most people that when you make a mistake, the best way to deal with it isn't to dwell on it and think about what you could have done, but rather instead you move forward, you learn from your mistakes, and you try again. And of course, the reason Davis knows this is because he has made many mistakes before. And this is something that Davis has expressed in the series before, such as right before he and Ken got X-Beamon and Sigmon to DNA Digivolve for the first time, and during the battle with Malamai Otismon, where Davis is replying to Malamai Otismon's question, and in the Japanese version he states that there's nothing wrong with having worries and dissatisfactions, and wanting to improve yourself is important. So that lets you know that Davis knows that he can still improve on himself. He doesn't think he's perfect or anything like that. Although it has been a while since I have seen 02, so if there is a scene that I missed where Davis expresses this, ideal of basically when you make a mistake, learn from it and move forward, please let me know in the comments. I just went with these two scenes because they are some of the most notable scenes with Davis, at least to me. Finally, there are two more reasons why I like Davis. The first being just that Davis is an underdog, and I typically really like underdog characters because they're usually always seen by the other characters just to be this, idiot goofball, and that makes me want to see the underdog characters, succeed and prove everybody else wrong. And Davis, I think we can agree, is an underdog since in the beginning the others would always laugh at him and his antics. Although, to be fair, Davis does do some pretty silly things that are pretty funny. But, when we look later in the season, and even at some points in the beginning, Davis proves to the others that he's more than just a goofball and that he's worthy to be their leader. And the last reason why Davis is my favorite character is because he is an imperfect character. And I'm betting some of you might be going, you like him because he's an imperfect character. That's kind of a strange reason to like Davis. But I'll explain just why Davis being an imperfect character is something I like about him. So, when we look into the Digimon series, or really any series in general, most don't have what would be considered perfect characters. And no, TK and Kari are not perfect characters, and I'll explain why. Now, a perfect character, if you take the phrase, at face value, and take the word perfect as literal, that would mean that, basically a perfect character would have to be where from start to finish, they just never make any mistakes, and they're basically the embodiment of perfection, where they never do any wrong and are always right. And because that's what a literal definition of a perfect character is, TK and Kari do not fit that bill, because throughout the Digimon Adventure story, at one point or another, they have had dilemmas and made mistakes, which a character considered a perfect character wouldn't, because they're supposed to be perfect. And, take for instance TK. In the original Digimon Adventure, he was just a kid, and he would make mistakes just like any other character. But he had to obviously grow up throughout the adventure, and in doing so learn many things. And then you fast forward to 02, and TK has developed a lot thanks to his previous experience in the digital world. Because, he's seen what the digital world is like and has seen the team led before. But there are still areas where his character can develop and he still makes mistakes. For example, the whole thing with darkness, and how TK is affected by that. Because we see that Angemon's sacrifice to stop everyone really affected TK, and now he absolutely despises anything that uses dark power. And the same goes for Kari, because even though she is presented as having no faults and it is basically presented as the perfect girl, we know that isn't the case because we see through her interactions with the Dark Ocean that she is insecure about herself and thinks she is weak and needs Tai and everyone else's help in order to succeed. And that shows that she isn't perfect and that she has flaws. In fact, out of all of Digimon, the only character who would be considered perfect in the literal sense would probably be Mikey from Digimon Fusion. And in all honesty, I'm not trying to hate on Mikey or anything, and if you like him, that's fine. But Mikey, him being a perfect character is just horrible because of the fact that he is perfect. This is because, thanks to him being perfect, that means he never grows as a character, he's never challenged or wrong, and no matter what anyone else says or does, he always ends up being right about the situation. And it's like, how is that a likable character? Because, no one can relate to him since he has no flaws. He can't grow because he has no flaws, and he was right about everything because he has no flaws. And, a character like Mike is just horrible for those reasons because as a viewer, I don't want to see a character never make mistakes and always be right about everything. I want to see them make mistakes. I want to see them grow up from their mistakes and improve themselves from them because I can relate to them in that way. And that's why Davis not being perfect is something I like because on a base human level, I can relate to his struggles and I want to see him overcome them. And what makes Davis not being perfect even better is because he acknowledges and knows he isn't perfect. Because when Davis is talking to the Dark Spore children, he states that I'm not special at all. And, even though Davis has a Digimon and he's a Digidestin, he doesn't put himself on a pedestal above others because he knows he isn't perfect and that he is no different from any other kid. And, that, along with all the other reasons I have stated, is why Davis, or Daisuke Motomiya, is my favorite character. And for all those reasons, I freaking love his character. And, yeah. Those are the reasons why Davis Motomiya is my favorite character. So, let me know what you find in the comments down below. Did I change your perspective on Davis, or at least got you to see him in a new light? And if you are a fan, and if you are a Davis fan, are any of the reasons I cited why you like Davis? But anyway, with all that being said, this is going to be the end of the video. So, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed the video, maybe leave a like. And if you're enjoying the content I'm producing, maybe consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, then thank you. You guys are awesome. And even if you're not subscribed, just thank you for watching my videos. It means a heck of a lot to me. But, yeah. Once again, thank you all for watching. I'm Alejandro Mendoza, and I will see you later. Bye.